I'm using wood chips as a pathway, as a mulch, but the side gets awfully muddy. It's clay-based soil, and the lawn guys can come and go with ease. They don't get their lawnmower stuck anymore. So once you walk this way and focus your attention on the east side of this property in the backyard. So all of this was grass a couple of years back, and I did a sheet mulching with cardboard and wood chips and other organic material, and built up soil that would produce food, mostly summer crops. This peach tree, for instance, it was a stick when we put it in, and this is its third growing season. You know, I mean, it's just huge. It's got peaches all over it, and we're starting to have very late freezes here. Peach trees are getting sort of harder to keep fruit on, but we were fortunate this year. I used sheets and water and covered it all up when we were going to have a freeze. Now I've got a combination of things in here. Oh, did you want to look at the peaches? There's one hiding out there. But we've got a pretty vigorous tree in here. This is grown from seed here. This is a heirloom crookneck yellow squash, and then we have, I think, 4 varieties of tomatoes, 5 varieties. One in the pot, I've got a black Krim. It's a Ukrainian cultivar. I've got a couple of cantaloupes growing out of that pot. I've got a mixture of things in here, and I'm sort of slowly learning about plant combinations, what vegetables do well with one another. But I've got a couple of Arkansas Beauty strawberries. I've got an eggplant that's kind of slow to take off. I've got some cilantro. And then on the other side of this, we have some cantaloupe. These are a French cultivar. I can't remember the name of them. 2 more tomato plants here. I just put in this plum tree that I got for an awfully good deal at a box store. Let's see. I don't remember. Stanley Blue. I don't know what that is. And then here in Oklahoma, we had a pretty hard winter, and we lost all of our fig trees, but they do grow back from the soil. And we've got a dog here part-time, and he's been kind of destroying a lot of things, and he's snapped off some of the new growth. But this is a plant I got from Steve Owens. It's a Vitex. This is called Silver. I think it's called Silver Castle. Agnes Vitex, Agnes Silver Castle. It's medicinal. These flowers turned into seed heads, and they have a kind of a peppery taste to them. You can actually grind them up and put them on food. There's supposedly used for men and women. It's like reproductive medicinal value. It has a really aromatic kind of sage pungency when you crush the leaves, and it's just hardy as heck. Side note on the Vitex, it was I believe, I've heard from some of the old timers, this is a CCC plant, Conservation Corps, and some of those that were put in the 30s are still here in central Oklahoma. I actually have a compost pile on the other side of that. That's kind of what I'm using this for, is to shield the messiness of the compost pile. So in the back beds, you can see we've got another peach tree. And then we're using this blackberry in here. We've not trellised it up, and I'm not getting the production that I want. You can see it is putting on some berries that I'm not real pleased about. I really think that I need to trellis these up. I've decided not to allow them to go as a ground cover. And this is, I think the cultivar is Arapaho. It's a thornless, and I'm kind of feeling like I'd rather have one that had thorns. I think they're better producers. Blackberries are native here, and they do just fine with no care. They have thorns on them, but they produce amazing fruit. I'm wondering if I should switch over. This is a feature plant. This is not the greatest tree in a sunny location here, but this is a tree that was found in Nebraska, and they call it the Plains Golden Prairie Aspen. It is a close relative of the quaking aspen in the Rocky Mountains. One saving grace is that it suckers, so it will continue to reproduce itself even if the parent plant perishes or has difficulty. It should be replaced by these, but I think in a more shady location, I think this would be a great tree. And it gets those really pretty catkins in the springtime. You know, this is an example of the influence of the homeowner. I would not ever put knockout roses in a garden, in a very distinguished garden, but it is what it is. They have pretty color all the way to the frost. I have used these Chinese junipers. It kind of gives it a similar feel to the eastern red cedars that we have here, but they don't get so enormous and they don't grow so quickly. So it'll give, I've planted them along this back fence to kind of give some depth to what we're doing, because I still believe in having a kind of a landscape horticultural aesthetic even when you're doing fruit and vegetables. This isn't a tree I'm still kind of curious about. I don't have a lot of experience. It's the Washington hawthorn. I may need another pollinator. I still don't quite understand this tree. It's not put on berries yet, but it's hardy. It's covered in thorns. You know, you want this tree in the right spot, not in your walkway. It will top out probably at 15 or 20 feet here. This is a kind of a sleeper. It was in a pot, and then we moved it into the ground last fall, and I didn't even see it until about 3 weeks ago. This is a hybrid of the coral bean and another plant. I don't know the parent plant. But the coral bean is a Gulf Coast native, and this one seems to be able to handle our winters. And these spiky flowers will just be in about, I don't know, in a couple of weeks, will just be clustered with these lipstick red flowers that hummingbirds like. And we are seeing hummingbirds almost all year now in central Oklahoma. I saw in Edmond, Oklahoma, in January, I saw hummingbirds. So, you know, that's just how things are going. These are some kind of variegated agave, no medicinal use that I know of. Somebody could correct me on that, but they're kind of fun. This is a native larkspur. It's a perennial, and it's boy, that has got some spikes on it. It's kind of a powdery blue, baby blue colored larkspur. This is a false indigo. It's Baptisia. It's the yellow Baptisia. A bit on the ephemeral side for flowers, but it's a prairie native, and it's a pea producing plant, so theoretically it will harvest nitrogen in root nodes and make them available in the soil for itself and other plants. I don't know if you can see, but this hyssop here is covered in bees. And it's been like this. I saw this earlier in the day, same story, and we're, what is it, 7 o'clock now in the evening, and it's still just buzzing with bees. I think this is Golden Jubilee, but any of these hyssops do just extremely well. And bumblebees and bees just really, really do enjoy them. I don't know if you can see it, but we've got strawberries scattered throughout here. We just put them in. They're producing kind of minimal fruit here, but we're still very pleased. The homeowner loves birdhouses and bird feeders, and I've put these posts in for her. She really likes crepe myrtles, and this one is diminishing in color, but it's still got this really striking mauve. I don't know what color you'd call that, but so we have left this, and I don't typically plant crepe myrtles, but you know, one or two here and there I think can help. This is a perennial I put in a couple weeks ago. This is the Bolero cultivar of Agastache. It's really, it blooms all season long, and it's a winner. It really is a winner. I transplanted some Boston ivy into this pot, and I've seen at the zoo here in their butterfly exhibit, they will actually get this to flower, and the bees love it. So I'm kind of interested in that. We did a new thing this year. I've got two cultivars of the American elderberry. This came bare root not even a month ago, and you can see just how vigorous it is. And then I've got another one here, and the dog snapped it off. But we should still be in good shape next year, and those will get 8 feet tall and produce really beautiful flowers. The flowers and the fruit are both excellent culinary uses. Parts of it can be used as tea. We have this is a redbud tree. You can see the seed pods on it. So theoretically, it's a nitrogen fixer, being in the family of Fabaceae. It was found and transplanted from a field, and we enjoy it. I do like redbud trees quite a bit. And I've got 1, 2, 3 different cultivars of the viburnum back in here, and again, we're having trouble with the dog, but this is really an evergreen viburnum. The cultivar is Kanoi. It's a hybrid. I love this thing. I really do. And it grows just as well in sun as it does in shade. This is Allegheny viburnum. You can see these leaves. They turn ruby red, mahogany red for fall, and then they stay on most of the winter, and you can see it's actually starting to put on flower heads. It's flowering kind of backward. It flowers in the fall and fruits in the late winter. We have here's not a prairie plant, but probably on the edge of forests and in more mesic situations. It's called the yellow ironweed. I've forgotten the genus of this. not to be confused with the Vernonia, the blue ironweed. We're trying this mulberry that volunteered. I think we've got a male, and if that's the case, I'm going to take this out. But I do want to get a very edible mulberry tree into this landscape. This is a plant I've been in love with for a very long time. Rubra, Eupatorium rubra, Joe Pye weed, and this is a little Joe or baby Joe, and it'll be covered in velvety pink flowers, and it's kind of a mesic plant, but it'll handle some dry conditions. And I've got, you know, everything covered in wood chips here. And then we set a Concord grape just a few weeks ago, and I think everybody in this area should have at least 1 or 2 grapevines. Grapes just do very well here. No, you don't have to make wine with these things or jam. I think they're just great to have, and you can throw them in the freezer and eat them, you know, throughout the season. I wish this were flowering, but this is a very striking cultivar of a daylily. I got this from Bob Scott, and it's orange, very bright orange and yellow, with heads on it about like that, so 6 to 7 inch daylily heads. This is a purple or blue passion flower. This is Passiflora incarnata, which is a native vine. I see it when I'm walking out on properties. It's just growing right out in the middle of the field. Zoom in on this flower here. Just very tropical beauty. Passiflora grows into Central America and South America with a very similar type of flower, and this one should put fruit on. We've got another vine here that's native. This is Wisteria pubescens, I think. There's a couple of native wisterias, so this one is a more manageable growth. It's not going to take over your structure like a Japanese or a Chinese would, and it should have pale blue flowers that last for a couple of months in early summer. I'm not sure why this one's not flowering just yet, but I've got a couple more crookneck squash in here. And then I've got I didn't show them to you, but I've got a couple of places where I've put Cherokee Trail of Tears beans, pole beans. And then this is a tree I've planted probably 3 seasons or 3 years ago. This is actually a red maple, but I can never remember the cultivar on this, like Marmot or Marmot or something like that. And it casts a yellow fall foliage instead of the red, and it's just one of my favorite little trees. And we had a little bit of trouble with the bark on it the first year. Got a little stressed, but this gets really good western and late day protection from these arborvitaes, these Occidental arborvitaes. It's a native plant to Canada and northeastern United States, and these have been here since the house was built in '62. But you can see, scale up there, we're probably looking at a 24 foot tree. I planted this, it wasn't even 12 foot high, so you can see how well. You just don't want to plant red maple out in the middle of the lawn, and you don't want them competing with grass. And you know, I've got a half a truckload of wood chips on this thing. So the homeowner has a few different kinds of potted plants, and I leave that mainly up to her. Interestingly enough, I actually built this this pergola a couple years ago. Built it from scratch. It's all cedar. We decided not to stain it. It provides a fair amount of sun protection, and then kind of helps define the space. And then we allow this old species of Concord grape to grow over it, and it kind of grows up into this pear. This pear tree is going on about its 4th decade, and it's having some issue, I believe, from a blight. It was covered in these kind of die-off places all over it. And then the squirrels, here's the fruit here. The squirrels have just taken off probably 75% of the fruit of this tree. So we're going to need to do some live trapping. But in the springtime, it's just absolutely covered in bees. It's just the most amazing thing. And then underneath, we're going to start to work and treat this as a shade garden and bring some horticultural value to the space here. We have remnants of probably 30-year-old canna bulbs here. I thinned them out. They were all the way down this space, and I thinned them out using sheet mulching, and it worked pretty well. Underneath here we have lemon balm. It seems to be flowering a little bit. And then we've got this this mint with the very large leaves on it, and it's good for modeling and drinks. I really like that a lot. Then we have some more cantaloupe, and this is something I'm really interested in this year. I sowed these from seed. This is a ground cherry in the Physalis genus. This is an heirloom garden plant that puts on a yellow berry, protected in a papery husk. And it's kind of a tart fruit that you can eat raw or cook in a cobbler. I've got some, here's a little, is that lamb? Yeah, I've got a little lamb's quarter. This is a wild plant that you can juice or blend, and it's about, they say it's like 30 times more potent than spinach, and it's pretty tasty. But I've got 2 kinds of pepper plants. I put in a Hungarian pepper and then a peach habanero pepper. And then I've got some dill coming up. And dill is one of those plants that will work to benefit other plants. It attracts wasps that will that are predatory wasps. It's also a host plant for monarch butterfly, and of course it's you know, a great culinary herb. And I've kept these orange ditch lilies. They're kind of fun. They've kind of died out, but they were fun this spring. So that's the extent of this property. I plan to have more videos to come.